Hi there, and welcome to the second video of this series and of this channel, where I'm rebuilding the starter houses of the base game on The Sims 4. Today I will be renovating NookStone on the Oasis Spring world. So I switched to the other world and I'm gonna try to do this house over here. Now, if you want to see my first ever build of this channel, you can go check out my previous video where I did Creek Cabana, because I think that that's like a big one everyone starts with. Now, my name is Patricia. I'm an artist and illustrator, usually on my other channel in my normal life, but I love to build. So I've recently started this series, this channel. Well, by the time I'm recording this, I haven't started anything, but I'm recording all the footage and I'm recording the voice clips as I build, because that way I have it fresh in my mind, my thoughts went through the process and all. Well, I hope you like it. If you like this, you can leave suggestions down below, thoughts, questions, anything you want, and I'll be happy to answer you and to do videos if you give me ideas. Now, I'm gonna do all 6 starter houses in these 2 first base game world. Why did I went for this one was basically I wanted to move on from Willow Creek and do one in the desert, and I just decided to go with the cheapest one. Now, to be honest, I don't even remember if I've ever started in this house. When I first saw it, it wasn't that familiar to me. Like, obviously I've seen it in the world and all, and I might have entered the house to see if I wanted to choose it or not. So when I checked the inside, I kind of had a glimpse of seeing this house and thinking that I didn't like it. I don't know why these starter houses have such a weird distribution inside. This house has this bathroom in the middle and then a very dark living room. What I'm trying to do with these houses is stick with a simple color palette, something that's kind of cohesive and looks nice. And for this one, I didn't know how to start, but the tiles on the outside gave me the idea of using a sort of dark green. And then I started playing out with everything and it came out really nicely, and I really enjoyed working with the color scheme and made it cohesive. And in fact, I like that it fits really well in the desert setting. As usual, I fought a little because I have this pet peeve that I try to get the same color on everything, and it's really hard sometimes to match the wood with doors wood, with the windows wood and everything. So you have to fight for a little till you find especially what you're looking for. But my initial thoughts of this house were, first, I have to change the whole distribution of the building because I really don't like it and it doesn't make sense to me. And then I have to make it much brighter. I don't understand why a house in the desert is like a bunker. I mean, in a sense, I understand that if you're in a desert and it's really hot, you will have like maybe a lot more protection so the heat doesn't come in. But then again, you have so much sun that you will have a lot of natural light. It seems like a logical thing to use it, right? I fought for a while with the exterior because I kind of liked the idea of the tiles on that side of the house, but I wanted to combine it with wood. I was trying to find the perfect sample of wood that I liked for the whole house. Then I had to decide if I liked it for the roof part or not. As for the size of the house, I didn't change it much. I moved it forward a little bit because there was a lot of space in the front of the house that wasn't really used, and also a lot of space in the back of the house, but I felt that having a little bit more in the back will be nice, you know, just to chill. Although I didn't do much in the back because money is limited with these houses. I don't know if I said it, but I'm trying to keep these houses under $20,000 because obviously they're started houses. I want to keep them that way. I honestly just put myself a couple of limitations, but it was keep the essence of the house style. And with this, I mean, I won't change the structure of the house a lot. I will just like try to do the best with what we have. And then the last thing is that I'm trying to use mainly base game. Now, I filtered them, but there were so little just with the base game, and I wanted the house to feel cozier that there are a few non-base game debug objects, but those are mostly decoration. The real time that took me to do this house was a little bit more than the first one. The first one was around 3 hours, I think. This one must have been over 4 hours, but the truth was that last like 2 hours I was just struggling with decorating it. So I'm having a little problem with these houses, and this is that I'm usually used to add a lot of clutter, but just making it feel lived in, like have little objects here and there that look nice. Is really hard to add clutter around because clutter is really expensive. I try to keep it just with the debug stuff, and I'm not very familiar with the debug stuff, so it takes me a while to search and to look for things. I don't remember where some things are. This limit of money really keeps me on my toes. I added a sim in the house so I can kind of keep track with how much money I'm spending. What I've realized is that when you take off the sim, you have a couple thousand more of simoleons left. So what I did this time, I did most of the basic house with the sim in, and then when I saw that I had like 3,000 simoleons left, I took off the sim and I just did the decoration part with all the exterior, all the debug objects, and then obviously adding some decoration that was paid for. But yeah, let's move on and talk a bit about what I did with the house. When I was testing out windows for the house, I had this idea. I don't even know how to call it, I'm sorry. I created a space with those windows that looked inside the kitchen and made it feel really open. My initial idea was to add curtains to that part, then I ran out of money, so I had to erase a few curtains because they're expensive. I had a moment of defeat after completing the base of the house, and it happened exactly the same with the previous house, so I should have learned from that, but I didn't. I felt that the house didn't look good and didn't look cozy enough as I wanted it to. I had to kind of remind myself that, hey, this is a starter house, it's supposed to be simple. And when I went back to it and added little objects here and there, I was actually really happy again with the result. What made me really happy was to compare the screenshots of the finished result with the screenshots of the beginning, because I really didn't remember how sad the house looked. Other notes, when I was building the kitchen, I struggled a little to find what I wanted to put in the walls. At first I thought about tiles and using the ones that I did for the outside to make it kind of cohesive. But for some reason I tested out, because I always do that. When I'm doing walls, sometimes I test out random walls, even if I think that they don't fit. Because sometimes I surprise myself and I find something that I really, really like. And I ended up testing this brick wall and really, really loving it. I think I ended up changing it after a while. I just changed the color, if I'm not mistaken. And for the wallpaper of the living room, I actually used this one that's green with leaves. The first time that I saw it, I thought that it was really, really ugly. And then one time I tested out in a building and I really enjoyed it. I find that these wallpapers aren't to be overused. A lot of times I like to use them just in one wall or in one room where the decoration can be kept simple, and I feel that gives the house a little interest. As you can see, we're keeping the wood and green kind of thing, and with that I introduced orange because orange and green go really well together. They're complementary colors. Sorry, my artist part is showing. I always try to keep it simple when it comes to color schemes and decorating and all, especially in these houses that are so simple and so small. And then I did use a couple of orange, more brighter things. For the kitchen, I was going to add a table in the middle of the kitchen, and initially I think I made it bigger, but then I decided to make it smaller. And with that, I thought, hey, let's keep the table outside, because I had a lot of space for the living room, and I feel that if you make a living room too big, it won't feel as cozy. So I kept the living room space near to the window. I really like what I did with the kitchen. I would have loved to add a little bit more decoration to the kitchen to make it feel cozier, as I usually do. I would have probably included some more cupboards in the walls, because I usually do that. At least I add a few. So it really doesn't need it, and it was actually getting a little bit on the expensive side. I spent like 2,000 simoleons on the kitchen, which was a lot for a small build like this. I restrained myself again from doing anything else to the kitchen, and I kept it like that. For the living room, I felt the living room needed a chimney. I don't know why, I just felt that it did. I kept it really simple again with the couches. I used two couches to make a corner shape and just a table, and all of them match. I think all of them are like the same kind of pack to put together. It has browns and oranges, and it goes really, really well with the decoration of the building. For the bathroom, I kept it super simple. I'm not usually used to make bathrooms this simple. Sometimes when I do buildings like this and I keep rooms so simple, I stare at them for a little bit, thinking, what can I do to make it better? But I was running out of money already, and I didn't even had done the bedroom yet. And you know that the bed already is a little expensive, and that was the part when I switched the windows and I made a little bit more money. And then I did the bedroom. After that, I cut out and I took off the sim because I knew that that part was going to give me a few more simoleons to work with that will have given me the real price of the house. I also took off a few curtains and all. I kept the bedroom too very simple. Then I was going to put two bedside tables, but then a lot of times happens to me, I'm not sure about you, when I go to play with the Sims, I usually do one sim, and then later sometimes I add another sim because of two reasons. Sometimes because I just want to play along with the sim for a while, and also because when you make another sim to get together with your sim, it gives you double the money. So that's a better investment in my mind, at least. One of the first things that I do when I move into a building is usually change it a little bit. Maybe not as drastic as I'm doing right now, but I do change a few little things. I take off things that I don't use. So for example, if I'm only one sim and there's a table with 4 chairs, I usually take them off so I can make more money, and later on I'll decorate the whole house better or move into another house. And one of the things I always take off, this is where I was going to, is the second bedside table. Anyway, and then it was the point where I started to struggle because I did all of this open space just like the house was, but it still felt very empty and I barely had money left. So I couldn't add many things, and that's when I took off the sim and then started playing with debug objects, and eventually I realized that I had a lot more money than I thought, and that's when the house took a little turn to the better, in my opinion. Now there's not much I can say about the last part, about the debug objects. I honestly just go through everything time and time again in case I missed something, and add little decorations. This is the part where I did use a few things from other packs, just because if not, I was very limited. If you're just playing with the starter pack, I think that the house won't change much because, as I said, the basic stuff is from the base game. Yeah, you might see that some decorations disappear because they're from different packs. I didn't use that many from different packs, so I feel like I already spoke a lot, but I'm just gonna quickly tell you about the decoration on the outside. Landscaping on the desert is definitely different, and I knew that I didn't want to add all of the greenery like you will do in a normal suburban home. I was going to play with cacti and with palm trees and things like that. Then I also found that there's some succulents and succulent type plants that look really nice and just gives it a cozier look. I'm a sucker for plants inside and outside of the house because they always make it feel homier. I feel that it's a very rocky terrain. As you can see, there's a lot of rocks around the house, so I felt that the terrain of the house should have rocks. So I also added, for the decoration part, a lot of rocks both in the front and in the back of the house. Then initially my thought was to put a table and some chairs in the back of the house. I didn't have money left for that, and what I did, I added a couple of chairs and a table from debug objects. I think you can't use them. Obviously, this is another thing that you can later change and add to your taste once you move in. Ones that you can use and your sim can actually sit there. I also ended up decorating the outside a lot more than I thought. They're all from debug, I think. I added a few ones that were paid, but then I realized that they were the same or really similar in debug, so I erased them so I didn't spend so much money. And I just realized, in fact, that the house came up a little bit more than the 20,000 simoleons. It's like 20,400. So it's not a lot. I think you can just go into the lot and erase a couple of windows and you will be fine. I really don't want to go in and erase anything because I like it as it is. But yeah, that's all for this house. Again, I had a lot of fun, especially I struggled a little bit in the middle point, but I feel that once you pass that middle point, it starts to be enjoyable again because you start to see the result. And especially you see it when you compare the final snapshots from the beginning and the end. And I'm gonna leave you with that. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this build. I don't think I've said it in this video, but I'm gonna share a save game with all of these houses. Eventually, I'm not sure when, but I will. But yeah, I'll share the save game of this because I started a whole new one to do this rebuilds and be able to share it with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a like if you like the build. Subscribe if you want to see the upcoming builds. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!